I would like to walk through the Black Tie Affair mini album that I made for a friend of mine for a wedding that's coming up. It's got lots of sparkle, and if you like what you see, there will be a tutorial following the walkthrough. So I'll go through this rather quickly. I just want to start with the outside. This is a BoBunny collection, and so this was a chipboard piece from the collection. I have some blue seam binding here. Anytime you see the sparkly paper, that was from my stash. I purchased that. That's not from Country Craft Creations, but I wanted something to give it a pop of color. So this is a shaker. I punched out XOXO, hugs, kisses, and a heart, and I put some colored sequins in there. Cute. This ribbon is from the store. I made a double bow using my bow it all. That also can be found at the store. I have my the year of the wedding, which is this week, and a chipboard piece, and then I just left the back solid. I have 3 real strong magnets by the gray blue. What the heck's that called? The magnets. Hold on. What's that called? I know what they're called. No, I threw away the container. They're from the store. Basic gray. Basic gray is what they're called. The big ones, and they're real strong, but I put 3 of them on here. So when you open it up, it's very shiny and sparkly, which I totally love. All of the pages have an opening on the end, and so I placed a large tag mat on the end, or inside, and I left it plain on one side. It can be for pictures or journaling. So each one has one of those. This page style opens and has room for pictures. I placed blue sparkly glitter paper on the side. You could just do this one large piece and not put that if you don't, if you need more room for a picture. This page opens up, and I just put in the corner like a tuck spot. This is a sticker from the collection. Put 2 tags in there. I mounted them on silver paper. So there's 3 sparkly papers. One is a turquoise or teal, one is silver, and the other one is like a really bright magenta color. Over here on this side, there is a card that I just placed inside that first pocket, and it's plain on the inside and on the back if she wants to write something there. I placed a cut apart in there from the collection. And then this is a deep pocket. This goes all the way down, and I just used some of my scraps basically to design the front and left the back empty. And that just tucks right in there nice and neat. Okay, so that's page style 1. Page style 1 on the back. This is a 6x6 cut apart. I had some little champagne glasses that I put here. These are magnetic, and they do open. There is a pocket right here, and I was going to put a tag in, but I like my tags to have the seam binding at the top, and I was afraid that it wouldn't close nice and neat. So maybe she can stick something down in there as a memento instead. But here's that really bright magenta pink paper. Look at the sparkle. And then this could be for a picture. And so the other side does the same thing. It just opens up with this is a pocket, and then over here we have room for a picture. Okay, that's page style 1. There's 3 different page styles. 2 of them I repeated, one is by itself. So when you first look at this page, it looks like it is like 2 long pockets, but I designed it so these 2 are separate pockets right here, and inside I just put little booklet, folded paper, added some of the designer paper, and did the corners. But like I said, I made them individual pockets so that they don't slide around. This is a chipboard sticker from the collection, and behind there you can see that there is the sparkly paper. That's not really a pocket. I mean, it's a pocket, but this actually flips down. And so what you're seeing is not a closed pocket on the side. This goes down, and then you have place here for pictures and a place here. This, however, is a pocket, and so I placed one of the cut aparts on some of the teal paper and white, and put 2 tags in from the collection. But it will hold quite a few pictures in here if you want to put those in here. Another tag on the other side. Remember, I put mats on inside each of the ends. So this page opens up, And we have a pocket. I was short on paper, so I took a square and cut it diagonally, and I thought it looked good enough, gave it some interest, and then I put a cut apart on there. This middle pocket holds, I have 3 things in there right now, different cut aparts that I matted on white paper. I just, again, took my scraps and made a design out of that, and then one in a million. So there's that. So I made 2 of this style of paper page. This is the one that I think she'll get the most bang for her buck. I have the sparkly paper here. It's got a magnet, and when you open that up, it is a sideways waterfall. And I have the silver sparkly paper in that 1/2 inch side here where the paper meets. And I just put different papers from the collection and put one of the sparkly ones in the middle. And there we go for that. And because I wanted her to be able to use this for quite a few pictures, I did the same thing on the back. Okay, so this opens up, and again you have the side waterfall. This time you have the pink sparkly paper. Okay, fabulous, fabulous. And now you're going to see that the other 2 pages were repeated. This was a cut apart. This was a picture on a cut apart, and I just trimmed it to cover up the middle here, gave it some interest. This is a puffy dimensional sticker. Again, these are individual pockets here so that the cards don't flop around, and it folds down. This time I used the blue paper instead of the pink. I loved this doily lacy looking paper. This is a pocket, and I have a cut apart and 2 tags. And these tags are from the sticker sheet, and I just mounted them on paper. Okay, mat on the side. When you turn this page, it should look familiar. Welcome to our love story. I have a key here. These open up. Again, I copied the same thing. I took a square and cut it diagonally to kind of fill up the space. Used a cut apart. Have some tags in here using leftover scraps so I didn't waste anything. Okay, this is cut apart. I left them blank on the back. This sticker says Mr. and Mrs. Okay, and the last page, so it's a total of 5 pages. This was just like the first one we looked at. It opens up and down. These are just for color, and then it opens to the right. I have a corner piece that I'm using for a tuck spot and just put a tag in there from the sticker collection. This is a sticker from the collection, and over here in the pockets I just used my scraps and made something she could write in. And that goes in this first pocket. Another cut apart. See, that's the one I trimmed on that other. I used just that weird shape. And then I made a mat that's longer, and the back is plain. And I was going to add some sort of frame to the front and back cover so she could slide a picture in, but I just love the paper, so and the color. I might, no, I'm going to go ahead and leave this solid. Like I said, I have some mats similar to this one that I could put on the inside, but I think I'll just give it to her flat right now, and she can glue something on there if she wants to. But I'm calling this my Black Tie Affair album. That's the paper line by BoBunny. And if you are interested, I'll show you how to design the pages. I show a little bit with the making of the hinges, but I don't go into detail about the decoration. I always leave that up to the individual person. So please stay tuned if you like it, and I look forward to hearing from you if you have any questions or if you want to share what your album looks like. The materials can be found at countrycraftcreations.com with the exception of this glitter paper. So, all right, stay tuned, and here comes the tutorial. To make the wedding album that you just saw previously, you're going to need to do some cutting for your base pages. There are 5 pages to the mini album, so to get the base pages you're going to need 5 that are measuring 6 by 8 and 5 papers that are measuring 7 by 8. So you take the one that measures 7 by 8. Place the 7 inches across the top, and you need to score at 1/2 inch and at 6.5 inches. You'll do that for all 5 of your 7 by 8 pieces. When you burnish, that's going to become the back of your page, and you're going to take the 6 by 8 and place it on top, and that's how you're going to get your page so that it can be attached to the hinge. So I have done all of my pages except for this one, so I will go ahead and I'm going to use glue, a wet glue called Art Glitter Glue. I used to use score tape, but this is more economical. I think it's just as strong, and it does give you a little wiggle room if you need to move it around a little bit. If you get it from Country Craft Creations, it does come with a fine tip addition so that you can, so it kind of controls it so it's not such a thick line of glue. I know that they can be, extra ones can be purchased also. So I'm just going to do one side at a time. So I'm placing the glue on one of those 1/2 inch flaps, and I'm going to go ahead and press down. And this is also, you can use your burnishing tool. And so now I will place glue on the other 1/2 inch flap. And that should line up just right. And yes, it does. Good. Okay. So you will have 5 base pages. And now I will talk about the very first page. Now I have 3 different page designs in my book. So I have done one, and I will show you one of each, and I will show you then how to do those. So pages 1 and 4 are going to be like this. Oops, it's upside down. So you have that flap up and down. You also have the flap that opens to the right. Get my glue out of the way. And then there are 2 pockets on the right hand side, and this is open for a mat. I'll put a mat on this side for a picture. So let's go ahead and get the pieces cut. I have them pre-cut to save some time. Let me just find what I'm looking for here. Okay, so let me give you the measurements first. On the front page, you're going to need 2 that measure 4.5 by 6 for the front, 2 at 4.5 by 6. You're going to need 1. Well, okay, so when I tell you this, I'm telling you the measurements or what to cut for one piece or one page, but I did 2 of this page. So if you want to do all your cutting up front, instead of doing 2 at 4.5 by 6, you would cut out 4 at 4.5 by 6. Okay, so again, this is for one page, and I did 2 of each. Okay, so the next one, you're going to need 1 that's 6 by 8.5, or you can cut out 2 to get it over and done with. And you are also going to need 2 that measure 4 by 7, or 4 at 4 by 7. Okay, it was just easier for me to do the single measure, the single cut, because I had already done my other page, so I didn't want to confuse myself. So I probably confused you in the process. So anyway, okay, so the first thing I want to do then is take my 6 by 8.5 inch piece. You place the 8.5 inches across the top, and you're going to score at 1/2. Okay, this is going to be our flap, so I'm going to burnish where I scored, and this is going to be placed so that the 1/2 inch is on the right hand side. Now I am going to miter my corners, because I'm going to tuck mine inside of the opening rather than place it on top. So let me show you what I mean by that. And it just fits better if you miter those corners. So by mitering, you just cut off a little angle. So I'm going to place glue on the inside of that 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to place it on the inside of that opening. Okay, and that just, to me, works, gets rid of some of the bulk that you can see. So again, on the inside is where I put my adhesive. Slide it inside of the opening on the right. And make sure it's lined up, and then press down. You can go ahead and open it. Press down, get rid of any excess glue that might have come out. Okay, we're going to take our two that were 4.5 by 6. You're going to place the 4.5 inch side across the top and score it 1/2, and you do that for both pieces, so you have a 1/2 inch score on each side. Let's go ahead and burnish those score marks. Here's one, oopsie, and here's the second one. These I don't really feel like I need to miter the corners. You're going to place one at the top and one at the bottom. I like the like so, and you can eyeball it or you can measure it. I'm just going to try and find the center, and I'm going to glue my bottom one on first, and I just eyeball it. I'm not going to measure. I can kind of tell where I think the center is, but I could be wrong too. So if you don't trust yourself, go ahead and get out the ruler, and if it's not exactly in the center, I'm okay with that too. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to open that up and just press down real good. So now we want to make sure that the top one is going to line up. So when we place this one down, we want to make sure that the sides are lining up. I am going to turn this upside down while I do this, just so it's closer to me and I can see better. I'm not as young as I used to be, and I don't have the eyesight that I used to, and I'm not wearing my reader, so I got to move it closer to me. All right, so I'm going to push this down and look to see, make sure I can line it up at the bottom and at the sides. I got to move it a little bit, and that looks good right there. And then I'll go ahead and open it and make sure I press down real good. Okay, yeah. So I do want, remember this opens to the right, so make sure that it's facing the right direction. We are going to put a magnet to keep this closed. I'm just going to use some magnets that I happen to have laying around. The best magnets, I think, are the basic gray, and you can get those from Country Craft Creations. I just don't happen to have any right now, so I'm going to use second best. So I'm going to go ahead and place a little bit of score tape on the back of one, and then on the back I have the two magnets together, they're stuck together, and I'll put a little bit of score tape on the back of the other one. Okay, and I'll take the backing off of just one side for right now, and I'm going to place it where I think I want the magnet to be. So I want to make sure I give myself enough room so that the paper can lay down and not have the magnet in the way. So at least a 1/2 inch or so. So I'm just going to place it right there. I'm going to push it, and so it sticks real well. Now I'll take the backing off of the other one, and I'm going to push it down real well so that it sticks to the bottom. And now I'm going to take my 1/8 inch score tape, and I just place a little bit on top to keep it from moving. I was using the 1/4, and I think that kind of limits the, or kind of inhibits the magnets attracting to each other. It kind of dulls them a little bit. So this thinner works better for me, and it keeps them in place. Okay, so let's go ahead and open to the inside, and this is where we're going to have two pockets on the right hand side. So the first one that we have, that's 4 by 7. You're going to place the 7 inches across the top, and you're going to score it 1/2 inch and 6.5 inches. So that's 1/2 and 6.5. And then when you turn it on the 4 inch side, you're going to go ahead and score at 1/2. I'm going to go ahead and cut out my corners at an angle. So there's a square that you see when the two lines overlap. I'm cutting those at an angle. And I am going to go ahead and just miter those corners at the top just slightly, just to give it a cleaner look. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and burnish all three sides. Okay, when you make a pocket, you're going to put the two sides in, and then you're going to bring up the bottom so that things can go in nice and neat and not get stuck on that bottom lip. So the two sides in and the bottom comes up. So I'm going to put some glue on the 1/2 inch sides. When we place this on the flap, we want to make sure that we move it just a hair away from the score line so that it can close nice and neat and not have that pocket get in the way. So I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, so I have my glue on all three sides. Now I'm going to turn this, and the door I'm going to put at the top, turn my book vertically. So here's the score line right here. I'm going to place this just a hair above that so that it clears when I open and close, and it won't get in the way. Glue on my hands, and I'm going to go ahead and burnish. Now make sure that when you close it, nothing gets in the way. So this closes without any buckling. Make sure everything's down real good, especially your corners. Okay, so now we do want another pocket that sits inside. So what you need to do is take your other 4x7, and you're going to place the 7-inch side across the top, score at 1/2 and at 6.5. Then what I want you to do is to turn your paper so that the 4 inches is across the top, and I want you to make a little tick mark at the 1 inch, like so. I just put a little pencil mark at 1 inch. And you're going to do the same thing. You want a 1 inch tick here. So I put it on this end, and I make a tick at 11 with my pencil. So what you want to do is take your scissors, and you're going to cut on that 1 inch tick mark to the line, the score line, and do that on both sides. Okay, and then we're going to cut off this bottom piece that's 1 inch, so that 1 inch half mark. So that one's gone. Oh, you know what? Yeah, that's fine. And this one. Now we want this to slide into this pocket. So to do that and to make it easy, we're going to cut this at an angle. Okay, and do that on both sides. Like so. Get my scraps out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and burnish. Now we just have the two score lines on the side, so the pocket will be open at the bottom, so larger tags can fit inside. So what's going to happen is when we put this in, it's going to stop automatically at the right spot. Okay, if we did everything evenly. So let's see here. Yep, that's going to work. So I have turned this so it's easier for me to work with. I'm going to go ahead and put my adhesive on. And I'll put it on both sides. Okay. And I'm going to kind of hold in those sides, tuck that piece in, line it up, and make sure that the sides line up. And burnish. Make sure it's down real good. Got some glue here. Okay, so that means you've got the pocket here, then this pocket will go all the way down. This page is left open for a larger picture. So we've got page 1, the front, done. So now we're going to turn it over onto the back of page 1 and complete that page. So let me give you the measurements for the paper that you're going to need. Let's see. Okay, you're going to need 2 that measure 5 by 3, and these will become pockets. You are going to need 2 that measure 4.5 by 6. Okay, so now that we're on the back, let's start with our 4.5 by 6 pieces. Place the 4.5 inch side across the top of your scoreboard, score it 1/2, and do that for both pieces. 4.5 inches across the top, score it 1/2. Let's go ahead and burnish those score marks. Okay, so we're going to place these are going to be like doors, and so, but the doors are going to open, one will open this way and the other one will open this way. So we're going to place this 1/2 inch fold in the center, and then this 1/2 inch fold will be in the center, and we're going to line them up so that we can open these. So I'm going to start with 1. I am going to turn this sideways so that I can see it better. And I'm going to put some adhesive on here. Okay. Now I'm going to actually line this up with the end of my paper, and then I'll know where to place that 1/2 inch. Right, it's like so. Now there's a magnet on the other side, or that I can feel, but I want to make sure that I press this down real good. I'm going to open it up and just press down. Okay. And now we're going to butt up the other one right next to it, like so. Okay. I'm going to turn it so I can see. Make sure it lines up nice and neat. I'm going to go ahead and open that flap up and just press down on the glue strip here. Okay, so as we're looking at this, let's take a look at the left hand side. Open that door up and we're going to have a pocket right here. So the 2 that you cut at 5 by 3, you're going to do the same thing on both pieces. You're going to place the 5 inch side across the top, score at 1/2 and at 4.5, and then turn your paper so that the 3 inch side is at the top and score at 1/2. Do that for both pieces. So you have 3 scored marks. To prepare the pocket, you go ahead and cut out that square corner, cut at an angle. I am going to miter the top a little bit, so cut that at an angle. Those little corners. Okay. And my heater's kicking on, so that's going to get noisy. Go ahead and burnish all 3 sides. Okay, we're going to place this on the door, and we want to move it as far right as we can so that it clears this score line right here. So let me just try to make sure if I have it over. Yep, it'll be fine. I'm going to put the 2 sides down first. And glue on the bottom. Get messy. let's go ahead and burnish real well so that the adhesive sticks. And again, let's just double check. Yep, oh, I took 2 doors. This closes just fine. And we'll do the same thing to the other side. So here's our what the front looks like. Open the right hand door now, and the pocket will go right here. So let's prepare this pocket by cutting out that square. Let's go ahead and miter the top. Get rid of your crumbs here. Your scraps. I'm going to go ahead and burnish. Now I have decorative dies and punches that you could use on the top of your pockets and stuff, but the gal that I'm making this for, to me, she would think that's frilly, and that's not really her. She just likes real modern, bold stuff. So to me, straight line is going to be more her style. But if I was making a wedding book, I would make it more frilly and use those dies that I have and punches. Okay, sides in, bottom up, line it up at the side and at the bottom. Just make sure the door closes fine, and it does. Okay, so without magnets, these are going to be flappy, and we don't want that, so we are going to add magnets to keep the doors closed. So you're going to need 4 more, or 2 sets. So let me see, where'd I put my magnets? Don't see, oh, they're there. I have them in a little baggie here. So there's 1 set of 2. And another set. Yep, I think I took 3. Yep. Okay. Prepare our magnets by putting some score tape on each side. I use the 1/4 inch. Now if you get the basic gray magnets, they already have adhesive on the backs, which is really nice. They're a strong magnet and they are thin, so I need to load up and get some more. The more albums I make, the more I realize that magnets just make it so much nicer and neater to keep everything from flapping open. Okay, make sure the adhesive is on well. So I'm going to place the magnet above the pocket, kind of scoot it in a little bit so that it doesn't get in the way when I put paper. I'll have enough room to push that paper down. So I'm going to take one side off and push it down, and take the backing off the other side. Close your door, push down so that that adhesive sticks, and go ahead and oh, that happened last time too when I was making this. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and use the 1/8 score tape just to make sure it doesn't move. Oopsie. And on both of them. Okay. And I love to hear that noise when they close. And let's do the other side too. Above the pocket. I don't want it to interfere with this magnet, so I might put this one up higher. I've learned that the more magnets you put in, you have to strategically place them so they don't fight against one another. So I'll put that one up here, and it'll still stay closed fine. you know what? I think I have 3 magnets here. Nope, I don't. I only have 2. And it did not stick. Hold on. There we go. And let's go ahead and make sure they don't move. I hope I didn't get that too close to the edge. Alright, so we have page style 1 done. Remember, you would make 2 of these if you're making a 5-page book. Open up top and bottom. Opens to the right. Have 2 pockets. This is open. When you turn it over onto the back of page 1, you have a flap that opens with a pocket, and then a flap that opens with a pocket. Okay? So page style 1 is done. That's going to end up being pages 1 and 4. Now let's work on pages 2 and 5. So on page 2 and 5, you have a pocket here, a pocket here. No, that's a lie. A pocket here. This comes, this comes down, and then I made 2 pockets on top of that flap. Okay, that makes sense. 1 pocket opens up, and then these are 2 separate pockets. And then on the back of this page, we have flaps that open and a larger pocket down here. So this is what I'm calling the front. So let's work on that first. So let me get my base page. Let me tell you what size papers you're going to need. Front. Okay. Go ahead and cut 2 at 5 by 4. So if you're doing 2 pages, you're going to want to double that to 4. And you're going to need 1 at 9 by 8. Oopsie. Or 2 at 9 by 8 if you're making 2 of these page styles. Okay. So let's start with the 9 by 8. Place the 9 inches across the top. Score at 1/2 inch and 8.5 inches. Half and 8.5. Turn your paper so that you have the 8-inch side going across the top, and score at 4.5. Okay, 4.5. So what we're going to do is on that 4.5 inch score mark, we're going to cut that little piece to the score. So we're going to get rid of this rectangle right down here. So I cut on the score line to the score line, and then I'm going to cut out this. I'm going to cut as straight as I can. I'm not always the best at this. Ugh, I gotta trim it. I don't like to see that ripple. Ugh. Come on. There we go. Nope. There we go. And you could probably do that in your trimmer. Okay, and we're going to do that to the other side also. We're going to snip on that 4.5 inch score line till it meets that score line, and we're going to cut out the rectangle as straight as you can. Okay, so it'll look like so. And let's go ahead and fold back the sides here. Okay, so we folded these back, and this is going to attach to the base. But we want this bottom to fold up. So let's fold up on that score line. And this is where you can tell if you cut straight or not. Okay. So this will be the flap that comes down. Let's go ahead and adhere this to the base page by putting glue on the 1/2 inch sides. And on the other one. And we want to make sure it lines up on the bottom and on the sides. Okay. Now we don't want this pocket to be open, so I'm going to run a thin line of glue, and I could have done that ahead of time too, at the bottom to seal it shut. Okay. Let's go ahead and put our double pockets on the front. So you're going to take the 2 that you have that are 5 by 4. You're going to place the 5 inches across the top, score at 1/2 and 4.5. Turn it so that the 4-inch side is at the top and score at 1/2. Do that on both pieces. Cut out your squares at the bottom at an angle. And I am going to go ahead and miter at the top, just slightly. I'm going to go ahead and do the other one also. So cut out those corners at an angle, miter slightly at the top. Get rid of your scraps. Go ahead and burnish on your score marks. And the other one also. Okay, bring your base page back over. Now this is going to go on this flap so that when we put tags in, they don't flop around. They'll have that divider, and so it'll keep them separate. And if you cut right, they should be able to meet in the center and lay down perfectly on each side. So I'm going to start with this one and get my glue on. You know, I used to use an ATG gun too, and it was fast, but I don't feel like the tape worked as well as this glue or as well as score tape. And to me, score tape is pretty pricey, and this is faster also, I think. You know, once you find an adhesive, you want to stick with it that you like. There's so many out there, and everybody has their own preference, but this one has really sold me. All right, so I lined it up, making sure that it didn't go over on this edge, making sure that it lined up with the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and burnish it on there real well. Okay, and then the other one, we're going to butt up right next to it. I'm looking forward to getting all the pieces together and the tags and putting it all together. Now that I'm recording this before I've finished it, but yet I'm going to put the finished product up first on the video. But I know that the cover will not be frilly with a bunch of flowers. It's going to be more modern and simple, just so I can work with the taste of the gal who's getting married, not my taste. I mean, it'll still be pretty, I'm sure it will, but I'm usually more of a floral person, and I'm cutting out on the flowers on this one. But the paper has flowers, so it looks, get my fill that way, I guess. Okay, so there's what it looks like. We're going to push this down and go ahead and put a magnet here so that it stays closed. So let me get my magnets. There's 1 and 2. And let's go, oh, I got glue all over my hands. Go ahead and put some score tape on the back of each side. And push it down so it's sticking real well. Take off one of the sides, the backing, maybe. There we go. And I'm just going to place it about right there. And I'm going to push down, take off the backing of this one, close it and push down. And take my 1/8, make sure they don't move. Okay. Fabulous. There's the pages 2 and 5, the front. And now we're going to turn it over onto the back. And let me see, what do we do on the back? Oh yeah. Okay. On the back, you're going to need 3 pieces cut. You're going to need one at 6 by 4.5 and one that's 5 by 4.5. And you're going to need one that's 9 by 3. That's it. Okay. So let's start with the 5 by 4.5. You place the 5-inch side at the top, score at 1/2. Your 6 by 4.5, place the 6 inches at the top, score at 1/2. Let's go ahead and burnish those. Okay. So I'm going to place the 6-inch side on the left and the one that measured 5 inches on the right. And the right one will go on top so that it opens first. Okay. So I am not going to miter the corners on this one. I don't think it's necessary because I'm going to be covering the base with paper and you won't see it anyway. I am going to turn it sideways and I am going to eyeball it in the center. As long as I'm close, I don't care. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and open that and make sure it's down real good. Get rid of any excess glue that comes out. I'm going to turn it around the other way. And so we want to make sure we line this up so that they match on the sides, like so. Perfect. Push down. And as we open these up, then we are going to place a pocket down here, and that's your 3 by 9 piece. So let's do our scoring. You're going to place the 9 inches across the top, score at 1/2 inch and 8.5 inches. Turn it so that the 3-inch side is at the top, score at 1/2 inch. Because it's a pocket, we're going to go ahead and get rid of those squares in the corner, cutting them at an angle. This one I am going to miter the top. junk I have here. I hate having a messy work area. Let's go ahead and miter. And the purpose for me anyway for these pockets is just so that they can stick pictures down in there, because I don't know how many pictures that they'll have. You know, sometimes people give them photos. Maybe, you know, hopefully this book is the right size so that they can put some 4x6s or 5x7s if they're sideways. Okay, so when we place this in, we want to make sure that we do our best not to go over these score lines. So we want to make sure that the doors will close, and they do. If not, you'll have to trim it down a little bit because you don't want it to buckle when you close it. Get my glue on there. I need to clean the tip. It's getting kind of gross. Okay. Push your two sides in, bring the bottom up. You're going to match it up down at the bottom, and we don't want them to cross those scores. So I think that looks about right. Yep, works good. Make sure it's down real good. Time for more magnets. So we're going to close these doors. And, oh geez, my magnets are sticking to a metal tin. Okay. Oh, I have a broken magnet. Let me throw that one away. There we go. Okay, put the two magnets together. Let's get our score tape on there. On each side. This book does come together pretty quickly. I didn't want it to be too fancy and too many flaps and stuff, just because some people don't know to open the flap. I mean, crazy as it sounds, they don't know like some things open. And I wanted it more clean just because I've said it before, that's her style. Okay, so I'm going to place the magnet about right there. Push down so that that score tape sticks. Take the backing off of this one. Close the door, push down so that one sticks. Good. And I'm going to go ahead and place that protective piece on there so my magnet doesn't move. Okay. And that is pages 2 and 5. Okay, so now page 3 I did differently. I wanted them to have a lot of space for pictures. So I have a side waterfall on the front, and I'm going to put a side waterfall on the back. So you're going to do the same thing on the front as you do the back. You're just going to have to make sure that your magnetic closure piece is on the right side. Okay, so this is my front, and let me give you the measurements of what you're going to need. Now this one, for some reason on the, oh no, I didn't. Okay, so for the front, you need 8 that measure 4.5 by 6 and 1 that measures 2 by 7. So you're going to need to double that because you're going to do the same thing on the back. So actually you're going to need 16 at 4.5 by 6 and 2 at 2 by 7. Okay, and you're going to take all of your pieces that are 4.5 by 6. You're going to place it so that the 4.5 inches is across the top, and you're going to score at 1/2 on all 16 pieces. And then you're going to take your 2 by 7, and I scored at the 7.5 mark excuse me, 6.5 inch mark. And then I went one line over to the 6 3/8 and I scored there too, just so there's a really small gusset so that when you put pictures, if it gets thicker, it's not going to cause a problem with the closure. So you can see that there is just a tiny gusset. So again, I scored at 6.5, and then I just backtracked and did 6 3/8. Or you could do 6 3/8 first and then 6.5. Whatever you prefer. So I'm going to go ahead and burnish that. Okay. Like so. And then we do need to burnish all of our pages that we just scored at the 1/2 inch mark. These waterfalls, you get a lot of bang for your buck, and they look nice. And just a couple more. And last, nope, there's 2 there. Now, when I do my waterfalls, my scoreboard is my friend because that's what helps me keep things lined up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place, so this is the front, this is the back, but I'm going to turn it sideways so I can line everything up. And this is going to be I'm going to take this out just because there's some bulk from the other side. And this just helps me keep everything lined up so I don't get off to the side, like get it crooked. I hate that. Okay. So here we go, one at a time. Let's put your adhesive on the 1/2 inch fold here. And this one's going to go at the very top. Let's see, I gotta make sure I'm doing this right. So we want, yeah. And place it at the top. And then I just open it and press down to make sure I get rid of any extra glue. Now, that one is not exactly perfect, so I'm just going to trim just a little piece right here. Fixed. Okay. All right, so now, I still see a little piece. No, I don't. It just needs to be pushed down where the glue was. Okay, so now you're just going to keep butting these up against the next one, or the prior one, previous, speak right, the previous one. I'm a messy gluer. Okay, so butt it up, make sure it's lined up on each side, push down, open up, press, make sure you get rid of any excess glue and make sure it's down real well. And you keep doing that until you have all the pieces down. So glue. Use your scoreboard on the side to keep it lined up, and then you butt it up against that other 1/2 inch piece that was already there. You push down, you lift it up, and you would press down again to get rid of any excess glue. Now, if you do have it where it's not lining up on the sides, go ahead and give it a little trim. This is going to be a thick page with all these flaps. before I used my scoreboard, I was notorious for getting crooked waterfalls, and it was so frustrating. And then common sense kicked in, and use your resources. All right, so the more you do this, the more tricks you learn. And button it up against the side and against that 1/2 inch piece. Okay, a couple more, actually 3. Okay. And press down. 2 more to go. And then we'll put the flap down and put a magnet on it so they stay down nice and neat. Okay, and one last one. And I hope I'm in camera because I just noticed and there's a shadow, but it's because the lighting is so terrible down here. Okay, great. Now we want to center. Let's push these down. Okay, so that was one side, and now on this side we obviously are going to place the closure so that it's here, and we'll keep these closed. So I'm going to put glue on that first 1/2 inch so I still have the gusset. I'm not putting any glue on that. And I'm going to eyeball it to put it in the center. I'm going to turn this sideways. And you're placing it on the base, this very bottom piece. And that looks about right. And I'm going to press it down. And that's what's going to keep that puppy closed. So let's get magnets. Let me put the pin in my glue. All right, 2 more. And score tape. And score tape. This is the 1/4 of an inch score tape. And I'm going to take the backing off of one. And I want to be conscientious of where I place this so I have the room to put the paper down on my closure without it being too close to the end. So I'm going to put it about right there. So I left about 1/2 of an inch. Push it. And take this off. And push down. Oh, not what I wanted to do. All right, and 1/8 inch. And on this one. All right, that is how you do the base pages. So a lot of bang for their buck on this one. They're going to get a lot of photos in here. So let's put this together. I have magnets sticking together. Okay, so it doesn't appear too thick right now, but once you add all your decorative paper and some embellishments, I have a little magnet fighting going on over here. The last two let me switch these and see if that helps. If I move this one and this one. Okay, so now it's time to put on your decorative paper. So I will be back after I have matted all of my pages just to show you what it looks like. And we still need to make the spine, the actual cover and the hinge system. And then we will put our book together. So I will be back with all my pages covered. I have all of my pages done with the base paper by BoBunny, and I also cut out the inserts for the side of the book. I cut out 5 of these. They're just on white paper, and they are 5 3/4 by 7 3/4. And I used some of the stickers from the collection at the end to make them easier to pull out of the side. I did leave the backs empty, so that should be able to hold good size picture, or small ones or whatever. So that's a good size. Let me show you what I ended up doing with the pages. So this is page style number 1, and I incorporated a lot of this glitter paper, and I love it. It looks really cool, very modern, and like I said, I can't do frilly on this one. I have a love sticker that's 3-dimensional on there, but when I put the glitter paper here and at the top of this one, this is 1 1/8 inch strips of the glitter paper, and then I did this with the designer paper. So it looks like, I don't know, it looks like it's 2 separate pages, but it's not. And then on this side, or on the inside, I have the sticker across the top, and I just mounted one of the cut apart squares on the glitter paper and then mounted it on white. Here is the pocket side. I need to make tags still to go inside. I'm trying to decide what kind I'm going to make, but I like how the sparkle goes with the other side. And then on this side, I have 2 champagne glasses down here in the corner. I took the 6-inch cut apart and cut it in half, and then again I put like a 1 1/8 inch border of the silver paper. So this flips over, and now I have, this is the other color. I used 3 colors of glitter paper: a teal, this real bright pinkish fuchsia color, and then silver. I still need to make tags for this. And then the other side, I just mimicked the same thing. So that's going to be page 1. Page 2, I went ahead and used this from the sticker collection, or the 3-dimensional chipboard pieces that came with my haul that I got. Incorporated this paper behind it. This looks like a 3-layer pocket, but remember, this flips down. And so I covered this as though it were one piece instead of the 2 separate pockets. I still need to make the tags to go in here. And then this is a long pocket. And then I just took one of the cut aparts, mounted it on this teal and on white. So still not done with making all the stuff, but I'm getting there. This is mounted on the silver. Used a cut apart, one of the puffy stickers. And then I had a piece of the silver left, and I didn't want to waste it, but it was just a hair too small. So I cut it in a diagonal to make 2 triangles, and then put a cut apart in there, and I thought that looked fine. And then I just put some cut aparts. This one I just kind of pieced some scraps together. And then I can't tell you how much I like the glitter paper. It's awesome with this BoBunny paper. So that's going to be my 2nd page. The 3rd page is the waterfall on each side. So the band to keep it closed has the glitter paper and some puffy stickers. I did not put any paper on the back of these. I left them white, and I put a silver strip in between to cover up that 1/2 inch piece on all of them. So there's that, and I love it. And then on the other side, I just copied the same thing, only this time it's the teal glitter paper, another sticker from the collection, and then I left the backs empty. It's just white, so they can either put pictures there or do some journaling, and then I use the silver strip. Okay, so there's that. That's going to be my middle page, my 3rd page. So then we have a repeat of page 1, but this time instead of the teal, I used the sparkly fuchsia. I have a beautiful sticker here, and I just copied the same idea as I used on the other one. And then when you open it, I used another border sticker across the top, mounted the heart on a piece of the pink and mounted that on white. And now I have pink here instead of the teal. Still need to make my tags. And then my last page, I covered this as though it were one piece. I cut this out from the cut apart, added a puffy sticker here. There's some glue on that. And then when this comes down, it's blue. Oh, I forgot to cover this. I gotta do that. Good thing I saw that. And then we have a larger pocket in the back, and I just put that in there. It's funny, I forgot that. And then on the back, I have the silver backing, welcome to our love story, the love key, and the doors open. And being as I had cut the other piece into 2 triangles, I decided to do it for this one too. And then I just, like I said, took my scraps and put together some cards that they can journal on the back or what have you, so that I didn't waste any of the paper. And then this was a cut apart from the collection. And I used a sticker from the collection that says Mr. and Mrs. Okay, so there's my 5th page, and I have my inserts. So now I need to be thinking about my cover and how large the spine has to be, and make some tags because I want to incorporate, I'm trying to decide on my closure so that I can incorporate this. And I have a lot of seam binding, and I want to make tags with the seam binding. So anyway, that's where my progress is. I will show you how to make the hinge. I go 1/8 of an inch smaller than the pages, so because my pages are 6 inches high, I'm going to make my hinge 5 7/8 inches long. I'm trying to decide, I usually do a 1/2 inch height for my hinge, but that middle page is pretty heavy, so I was wondering if I should do 3/4, but I don't know, I'll just play around and see what happens, and I will show you how to make the hinge and the cover, and then the decorating I just do off camera and show you the end result. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm going to go make some tags and decide how to make my cover, and I'll be back. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do the hinge for the book. I made one, and then I decided that I wanted a 3/4 inch gusset, so I redid it. But here's what you need to know. You're going to need a piece of paper that's 5 7/8 by 11, and I've been using 8.5 by 11 paper on this album, so I've been trying to stick to measurements that work well with 8.5 by 11 paper. So for 5 7/8 by 11, and so what we're going to do is when we make our hinge, or when we're going to start scoring, we're going to go 1/2, 1/2, 3/4, 1/2, 1/2, 3/4, 1/2, 1/2, 3/4. So that'll be the pattern, so that we have a total of 5 hinges, and that will make four spaces. Okay, so what I did was I placed my paper on my scoreboard, and I started at 1 1/2, and then I did 2 1/2 inches. So I did 1 1/2, 2 2 1/2. Then I went to 3/4. So 1/2. Let's see. So I went to 3 1/4. Then I did another 1/2, 1/2. Then I moved over 3/4. Then I did 1/2, 1/2, moved over 3/4. then half, half moved over 3/4, half, half. So you don't end with the 3/4, you just leave this open, okay? So then the 1/2 inches are going to go together to form a hinge. So you have to do some scoring and some mitering. And now I'm going to place tape in between the 1/2 inch pieces so that they stay together for my hinge. And then I'll be putting score tape on the 3/4 inch gusset so it can sit in my book. Okay, so that's going to be my hinge system. I'm sure some of you are already familiar with how to make the hinge system. There are other tutorials out there if you need more direction, but that's all I'm going to do to cover the hinge system. Just know that I did a 3/4 inch gusset, 1/2, 1/2, 3/4. Okay, so I started at the 1/2 inch mark. Okay, so I'm going to put that to the side. For the cover, the chipboard pieces you're going to need 2 that measure 6.5 by 4. You're going to need 2 that measure 6.5 by 8.5, and you're going to need 1 that measures 6.5 by 3. Okay, so it's a 4-inch spine basically, and I'm doing the 4 inches on each side with a flap that's 3 inches over. Once you have those pieces cut out, you do want to put your adhesive on the back. I used the 6 by 6 inch score tape pieces and cut them to the size I needed. Boy, does that save time. And I'm now out, so I'm going to be ordering some more from the store, but from Country Craft Creations. So that's the the chipboard you're going to need. To wrap the chipboard pieces, I took 3 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper, and I attached them with 3/8 inch score tape, so they just overlapped 3/8 of an inch, and I attached them at the 8.5 inch side. Okay, so this is 8.5 going up and down, and it's 11 going across here. So I took 3 pieces of paper. So let me move my scoreboard. And we want, usually when you make your covers, you leave a 1-inch border around, and because mine are 6.5 inches tall and this is 8.5, it should be just perfect. So you're going to start with an 6.5 by 8.5 inch piece. Then you're going to lay down a 4-inch piece, and you leave some space. I'm actually going to put seam score tape in between to help with this spacing. The next piece that you'll put down is another 6.5 by 8.5. Then you'll put another 4-inch piece, so 6.5 by 4. And then your last piece on the end is your 6.5 by 3. Okay? And so that's the order that those go in. Remember to give yourself, I'm going to use 1/4 inch score tape in between each of these pieces for the spacing, and then I'm going to wrap this paper around my chipboard. So I'm going to go ahead and glue mine or tape mine down, and then I'll show you how to do the wrapping and the mitering of the corners. So as you can see, I put 1/4 inch score tape around the perimeter of the chipboard, and I use 3/8 of an inch score tape along the perimeter of the white paper that I'm using to wrap. So I've done all of my score tape around the perimeter, and so now I need to miter my corners. So what I am going to do is I have this tool that I just place on the corner here, and it will give me just the right amount of space so that I don't see the chipboard as I wrap the paper. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut that at an angle. So it does leave a little bit of space here, and I'll do that on the bottom. Actually, I went too far. Okay. And I'm going to turn it around and do the other 2 corners. Okay, so my corners are mitered. Now you do want to train your paper so that it will wrap easier. And so what I mean by training is you need to kind of flip it up and then push along the edges, and then I took my score tool or my burnishing tool and just kind of rub to make sure that it's going to wrap around real nice. Okay, so I do the long sides first. Now this is a very long piece and the goal is not to have a lot of wrinkling. And so sometimes you have to work at it and kind of do a section and then straighten it out and then work your way out. Now in the past I have put just a real fine line of the art glitter glue right at the base of the chipboard, and that just kind of helps give it a clean finish around the corner. I am going to start taking off the backing of my score tape, and I'm going to go ahead and take off these in between my chipboard too, because I forget that one a lot. So I might need a tool to help me with that. Let's see, where's my there it is. So sometimes it's hard to get that out of there. Oh, that worked. That was good. So I'm just using a fine, like a needle. And this will be perfect for spacing with that 1/4 inch score tape. If you get your chipboard too close, you do get ripping at the corners. So you need to give yourself some space. Some people can just eyeball it. And okay, so I have all of that off. So now I'm going to take this backing off on the paper, and I'm going to just try and do a little section at a time and work my way out. Oh, and I forgot to put the art glitter glue down. Well, I'll have to do it on the other side. I got ahead of myself. So I do have a little bit of wrinkling. Okay, so now I'm going to take my burnishing tool and really make sure that's down. I have a little wrinkling right here. But actually that's not bad. I worked it out. Fabulous. Okay, so I'm going to turn it around, and this time I'm going to remember, oh, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and just run this around the edge. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that line of glue while I take the back off so it can kind of soak into the paper. I think my glue's clogged. Yep, hold on. Oh, don't lose the pin. There we go. Seriously? That's not it. Oh my gosh, where did it go? That's not it. Finally, okay. Okay, put all this stuff back. Now that I made a mess. Okay. Just right at the base of the chipboard. Okay. Now it's time to, oh my gosh, my eyes are terrible. I can't get that pin in the hole. There we go. Okay, let's get this backing off. And the backing off the one on the paper. And bring it over and push down. Work your way out. Okay, so now let's make sure it's down real well. All right, I think that's about good enough. And so now I'm going to turn this, take the backing off. I don't know if you can see. Short ends are next. Go ahead and just place a little bit of glue here. Make sure that these corners get tucked in. So I just kind of use my fingernail to push them down. Okay. Now the other end. And then that's going to be the main part of our cover. All right, so remember you want the 3-inch piece at the very end on your right. This is where your spine will go, but first we want to cover this with paper on the inside. So you can choose if you want solid, if you want designer paper or decorative paper. I'm going to go ahead and look through my papers to see what I have left. I know that I will probably do from the BoBunny collection rather than doing white. I like to have the pattern paper on the inside too, and I will go about 1/8 of an inch smaller than my height, and I will be back. Before you put on the inside paper, I'm going to use magnets right here. So before you cover it with your pattern paper, I'm probably going to put 3 magnets just to make sure it has a strong closing. So I'll put 3 here, and then I'll match it up and see where the 3 match on this before I cover the outside. So I'm going to do my magnets next. Then I'm going to put the pattern paper on. So let me show you what I ended up doing with the inside. I already went ahead and put the pages in. I love the sparkly paper, and so when I added that, I was afraid that if I put it in between the pieces of chipboard that it might crack when I folded it. So I ended up putting white paper in the seams where the paper met, and I did that back here also. So I put white paper here, I put white paper here, and white paper here, and then I put the sparkly paper on it. So, and then I just took the backing off the score tape and slid the page on and put it on the hinge. And then I went back and put all my mats on the outside pockets, and so this is the final book. There you go. So I hope you enjoyed. It was fun to make. I ended up putting 2018 on the this thing. So anyway, I hope you found this to be an easy tutorial to follow. I would appreciate you subscribing if you haven't. I will be putting out new tutorials and doing reveals from my design team kit, and I hope that you have a fabulous day and come again. Thanks so much. Bye guys.